Now, Tommy's someone who's constantly having to prove himself to those around him that he's the man with the brains, the one who knows how to put things in motion and build an organization from scratch, build an infrastructure, network, and a pipeline. And now he's doing all of this while staying as a ghost and not revealing his true identity. And in essence, he's coming away from some of his ways in New York, where he was always showing his face because he was someone who always gave credit to what gave credit to him, and that was the streets. And that's why he was never scared to show his face. But Tommy realized he's having to be a lot more smarter in the way he's moving in Chicago, and it definitely shows in the chess moves that he's making. He knows that he can't be as reckless, and he knows that he needs to be smarter with the people that he brings on board to his team. For example, Liliana, because he knows this game, and he's the man with the experience who's able to adapt his ways, but he needs loyalty around him and people that he trusts. So we're gonna run through Tommy changing the game in Chicago, and how he's using principles of Law 25 of recreating himself, and where in essence he's putting a distance between himself and the streets. But we also need to remember he was snapped by law enforcement in episode 3, which could eventually come back. But we're gonna run through an analysis of all things Tommy and his partnership with Liliana. But first we need to understand how Tommy's taking over the game in Chicago, and he's showing us that he's taken everything on board that he learned from Ghost, Kanan, Milan, and Jason Michich, and he really is moving a lot more Ghost-like when it comes to building his business around finesse. Because Ghost was someone who always used to put distance between himself and the streets, where not many people could associate James St. Patrick as Ghost, and this is what Tommy is doing with the locker drops, but he's also picking and choosing who to work with, similar to how Jason Michich saw something in Tommy, because he knew that he could mold and mentor Tommy, whereas you couldn't do that with someone like Ghost, because he was already his own man, and way too advanced in the game and in the real world of business, and this was the huge difference between Ghost and Tommy in power. So Tommy knows while he's pulling people like Liliana and Claudia up, he can mentor them and mold them into different versions of himself. For example, having Liliana do the locker key drops, and if and when Tommy needs someone dealt with or backup, he's got a bloodthirsty Claudia Flynn and Liliana who's not afraid to drop a body. But it doesn't mean that Tommy won't cancel Christmas, because we've seen him attack with the same ruthlessness like Kanan. For example, when Tommy, the CBI, and Vic Flynn attacked the Serbs and took their pipeline, and we saw Kanan do something similar in Power, where he killed Q-Dubs, and in essence he was taking their pipeline and territory, which was Kanan's old stomping ground before he went inside. But Kanan was also one of the best chess players and master manipulators, so let's take it back to Season 5, Episode 5 of Power, when Ghost, Kanan, and Tommy were working together to try and take down Dre.
Even if we did, now we need Ghost to get the drop on Dre.
The Ghost got you believing you can't do nothing without him.
And as we're moving through Force, especially after episode 6, with the moves that we saw Tommy making, he's realizing, shit, Kanan was right, and I can do this without Ghost. And that's because there's a vacant power vacuum in Chicago, and he understands the game a lot more than people like Vic, Janard, and Claudia. For example, we've seen him using his privilege twice now, when it came to Diamond being questioned by the police, where we saw Diamond doing the right things by not moving his hands, but Tommy using his privileged circumstances, telling the cop that he was his barber. And again, we saw this in episode 6, when it came to the locker drops, where he was Casper the Ghost in this scene.
As bizarre as it's gonna sound, I like my cash the old-fashioned way, made of paper and under my bed. Have a good day.
And he definitely knows who he is, the power and privilege that comes with this, and using every single tool at his disposal to his advantage by hiding in plain sight. And Tommy is using principles of Law 25 from the 48 Laws of Power by recreating himself, because everybody is born with certain characters which is shaped by family, friends, and past experiences. But sometimes you need to take control and recreate yourself based on circumstances, and whatever image you create will allow you to gain this power. So linking this back to Tommy in front of the police, he recreated an image from his past with a ghost-like custom suit, but adapting his image to the situation to gain his respect. And by doing this, he's showing those around him who he is, and in essence proving himself all over again, because nobody knows him here in Chicago, so he's having to prove himself at every single turn, which he's done with Vic, Flynn, Diamond, and now Claudia. And that's because he's far more advanced than those in Chicago, because he gets the game, and he's done it all and seen it all. He's created a business from scratch, but he's also felt pain, death, loss, and hurt, in the form of losing a brother in Ghost, to even an unborn child when he killed Holly, and also someone he was planning on marrying, and that was Lakeisha. And now this version of Tommy is a man who came to Chicago with nothing to lose, and this is why it's difficult to beat someone like Tommy. But where he came to Chicago with nothing to lose, he realized that he's got family, and now with JP wanting in on the game, we saw Tommy push back. And that's because he's already lost one brother to the game, and he definitely isn't prepared to lose another. But coming back to Tommy already going through all the suffering of loss of loved ones, this is another reason why he's far more advanced than people like Jannard and Vic Flynn especially, because we saw Jannard and Vic voting out Tommy because they thought he was a liability, because they're still hurting from the death of their number 2s, Elijah and Simon. But they knew what they signed up for, which is exactly what Diamond said, this is the game, and they knew the risks. But Vic and Jannard really haven't seen everything, and this is clearly their first big loss. And this is another reason why there's a mutual respect and understanding with Diamond. He likes Tommy, because even though we don't know Diamond's story, you can tell he's been through a similar circumstance where he created the CBI, he's felt loss and pain, which is why he's now a changed man. But it can also be argued, Diamond is someone who's gone back on his word. But I don't think we quite know Diamond's full story yet, and I do think it's something to keep in the back of our minds with Adrian, who's a journalist. But Tommy letting this deal go that he made with the CBI and Vic Flynn showed us another side to Tommy, one where he was calm, 5 moves ahead, but also made the situation benefit him, because he knows he was outvoted and there was nothing he could do to change it. So on the way out, he got the price he wanted for his 10 keys, which was $380k. But if this was Tommy in New York, I'm sure he would have approached this differently, because there is no way he would have given up 33% so easily. But of course, in the back of his mind, he had the partnership already set up with Claudia and the new drug Dahlia. So this moves me on to the new partner, and more so Liliana, because we went through Claudia in this video. Now Tommy's someone who rarely trusts, and that's because he's been burned before, and he's lost too much, but he clearly cares for Liliana, as this shows.
Liliana, she good people. She never gave me up. She had my back. We need her.
And it really does show a shift in behavior from Tommy, because there's a business side of Tommy, there's this real psychotic and violent side, but over the course of the last few episodes we've seen somewhat a caring side, and more of a sibling relationship I would say with Liliana, because we saw him telling her that she needs to get out of Chicago because of the Serbs, and when he realized they snatched her, he came back to rescue her. And now she's someone who was just a career for him to now his partner, and everything we heard Tommy from saying her being loyal to not breaking and being tough is the reason why. But also because he knows she's got nothing to lose, and she's probably the only person that reminds him of what used to be home, and that was New York and Ghost. So with the mention of New York, Tommy's someone who's already dead in Power Book 2 Ghost Season 1. But what happens when someone spots these images? For example, Blanca Rodriguez, Cooper Saxe, or someone else from Tommy's past life. Now we've spoken about connection and crossover with the Serbs, and with Kate appearing on Force. But I really wouldn't be surprised if this brought Blanca Rodriguez or Cooper Saxe over to Chicago, because they're two people who have always chased the St. Patrick's and Tommy. And with Cooper Saxe, we saw this troubled relationship with being a defense attorney, because that's not who he is, and now he's gonna help Jenny Sullivan. But Blanca Rodriguez is someone who's similar to Saxe. She wanted to catch the St. Patrick's at all costs. So let's see whether these pictures come back into the equation at some point. And with that being said, drop all your comments down below on Tommy's ghost-like moves, his relationship with Liliana, and the pictures that were snapped of Tommy in episode 3 by law enforcement. So drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 4 Force and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.